Most of the time, you're probably not thinking about math when you're making everyday decisions. You're just trying to get through the day, figure out what to say, how to respond, when to speak up, when to stay quiet. But under all of that, there's a system at work, a way to look at human behavior that actually helps explain a lot of what we do. It's called game theory. Now, don't get thrown off by the word game. Game theory isn't about video games or board games. It's about real-life situations where your choices affect someone else, and their choices affect you. It's used in economics, politics, biology, military strategy, relationships, friendships, you name it. Basically, game theory is like a manual for decision-making when people are involved. Let's start with one of the most famous examples, the prisoner's dilemma. Imagine two people, let's call them Leo and Maya, get arrested for a crime. The police don't have enough to lock them up for the full sentence, but they do have enough to give them 2 years each. So they make them an offer. If Leo betrays Maya and Maya stays silent, Leo walks free and Maya gets 10 years. But if Maya betrays Leo and he stays silent, she walks and he gets the 10. If they both stay quiet, they each get 2 years. But if they both betray each other, they get 5 years each. Here's the problem. They're separated. They can't talk to each other. And neither one knows what the other will do. So what happens? They both betray each other. Not because they're evil, but because it feels like the safest option. If you can't trust the other person, you protect yourself. And that right there? That's the heart of non-cooperative game theory. Even when cooperation is better for everyone, fear and uncertainty push people towards self-interest. This is where Nash Equilibrium comes in. It's a point in the game where neither player can improve their outcome by changing their decision, as long as the other person sticks with theirs. In the prisoner's case, both betraying is the most stable choice. Not the best, but the safest. And this plays out in real life all the time. In business, relationships, politics, we're constantly trying to guess what the other person will do. And when we're unsure, we play it safe. Sometimes that means missing out on a better outcome, but it also means avoiding getting burned. Now, not all games are about competition. Sometimes we're on the same team. That's cooperative game theory. Instead of fighting for the biggest slice of the pie, we're trying to figure out how to bake the pie together and then split it fairly. Here's where something called the Shapley Value shows up. It's a way to divide rewards or costs based on what each person actually contributed. Let's say you and your friend are baking cookies. You can make 10 an hour. Your friend? A cookie wizard. He can make 20. But together, with better teamwork and a smoother process, you make 40 cookies in 1 hour. Now you've got $40 from selling cookies. Who gets what? It's not as simple as you get 10, they get 20. You both helped create the synergy that made the extra 10 cookies possible. Shappley Value looks at what each person added to the group, called their marginal contribution, and then averages it across all scenarios. In the end, maybe you end up with $15 and your friend gets $25. Not equal, but fair. This idea of fairness is powerful, but it also raises tough questions like, what if someone in the group can't contribute right now? Should they still get a piece? Game theory says no, but life isn't always that clean. Maybe they're on medical leave. Maybe they're dealing with something difficult. Sometimes fairness means being flexible, being human. And that's where real-life decisions go beyond the numbers. Still, the logic behind game theory helps explain why people act the way they do. When people are afraid of being betrayed, they protect themselves. When they don't trust the system, they game it. When they feel undervalued, they disengage. And when they know they'll be treated fairly, they show up and contribute more. You see this everywhere, at work, in families, in friendships, even online. Game theory won't make people nicer, but it does help you understand what's going on beneath the surface. Why someone chose not to reply to your message, why a coworker stopped trying, why that deal didn't go through. It's not always personal. Sometimes it's just the math of fear, risk, and self-preservation. But here's the bigger takeaway. When you know how the game works, you don't have to play it the default way. You can choose to build trust Instead of breaking it, you can choose to cooperate, even when it's risky. You can create environments where people feel safe enough to not act selfishly. And when you do that, you change the game. You shift things from every man for himself to we're in this together. Game theory explains the systems, but it's up to you to decide what kind of player you want to be. So next time you're stuck between protecting yourself or taking a risk on someone else, ask yourself, am I making this decision because I'm afraid or because I believe something better is possible? Sometimes you'll still have to play it safe. That's life. But sometimes it'll be worth it to bet on trust, because the world doesn't change by winning at the game. It changes when enough people play it differently.